Welcome to Typebook. We are Chris and Rose, INTJ and INFJ, and we are cataloging a variety of people based on their Jungian psychological types and their MBTI four-letter abbreviations. Today we are taking a look at Phil Collins.
I just want to say about his shirt. What is it with ISTJs and this kind of sport shirt, but they're not sporty? They have like a sporty, casual kind of, my dad would wear that.
Yeah,
and they think it's really classy.
Brother-in-law would wear that.
They think it's really classy and like they're, like a golf player. That's their kind of look, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go.
Phil, John, great to talk to you. Thanks for inviting us in. I thought it would be good to start talking about the thing that kind of drives you as a musician, the thing you grew up doing, playing the drums. I thought maybe if you could tell us a little bit of why you became a drummer and what was it about drumming that you loved so much?
Well, I can't really, I can't remember why it was drums. I think it was, when you were growing up in the 50s, which is hard to sort of understand probably now if you're a kid growing up in this era, but back then, you got a soldier, a toy, and in my instance, I got a toy drum, and I can remember, I was only 3, I think, but I can remember, my kind of shutter went off when I got this drum. I can remember the instance, a lot of infant stuff you forget, obviously, over the years, but I can remember this incident, and I was given a drum by my uncles, sort of family uncles, they weren't really uncles, and apparently I took to it. But I probably, only given 3 or 4 Christmas presents. You played with them properly, as opposed to getting a Star Wars set or something. So I played with it, and then a couple of years later, I had taken to it so much that my uncles made me a drum kit, which fitted in a suitcase, a couple of crisscross bits of wood, and poles sticking out with the little cymbals and tambourines and stuff. And I used to sit in the living room and play this along to the television. And so somewhere in there, the bug was taken. The bug was, it was kind of extraordinary. Pop music as such, the Beatles had yet to start. So it was all, my sister was a big record listener.
All right, let's stop.
Neil Sedaka.
Okay.
They have such a dry way of relaying a story. This is profound, really, right? Like, how did you get into...
It's very, very self-aware, isn't it? Don't you think?
No, I think so too, in a way that's very similar to you. Because you're the same way. You remember things from when you were 3 years old.
Yeah, I do.
And I've always tried to think, what is that? Because you and I sort of have this in common, but not really. Yeah. You seem to be more
It's the
clear.
thinkerness, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or the introverted thinkerness. Because for me, I've always been aware. My mind's always been aware that I am a thing.
Exactly.
And that doesn't seem to happen with most people.
No. So it's interesting to hear him have such clarity about an event when he was 3 years old. But besides that, the point I was originally trying to make is that he has such a dry way of telling a story. This is a profound moment, right? He got his first drum, and there's no excitement there.
It's all factual.
Yeah, excitement from obviously my perspective, right? What I would expect to see, maybe a little bit more, I don't know if you want to put it in function terms, FE or something. But
Like
it just seems,
excitability,
yeah,
like,
it's
wow, I got
just
my first drum and it was
exactly.
amazing.
Yes, exactly. There is nothing like that here. It's
Yeah.
just very cut and dry.
It's
This
like,
is
yeah,
what
well,
happened.
got a drum. I suppose I was inspired by that.
Yeah, yeah. There's just no romanticizing it. This is the way it was. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Tommy Steele. My brother was a Jim Reeves fan. But there was music one way or the other in the house. And I was actually, my mum and dad used to belong to a boat club on the Thames in Twickenham, which, all those years later I'm kind of honorary president of. But they used to, they were at the beginning of this yacht club. And I used to play at the shows on the drums. And there is some footage of that.
How old were you then? Like sort of 10?
I was probably 9 or 10. Yeah, because when I was 12, maybe I was 12 because I had a proper drum kit when I was 12.
Okay, stop. It's so interesting as well how, this type is so good at just remembering stuff. Detail. No, that's not right. I had a drum when I was 12. Where does that come from?
All of us, to one degree or another, are impacted by things that happen in our childhood. But the ISTJ especially seems to be very sentimentally attached to their influences in youth. So I've known ISTJ older men who grew up in a situation where they were inspired to get into business because they were surrounded by older men when they were young who encouraged them in that way. And they heard stories about it and it got them interested in it. And they never forgot that in this very sentimental sort of way. And the way Phil Collins talks, I mean, he said he's an honorary member of this club or whatever. Like, just throwing that out there might seem kind of like not very important.
I'm sure it is for him.
Uh-huh.
He wouldn't have mentioned it otherwise, would he?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, it's like they're kind of built up by the people around them in some way. As in, if there's a culture of whatever around them and people they respect and are adult, and then they're like, yes, that's true. I'm going to be a musician now. And then they go with that. It's like they get solidity in that, like identity in the sort of, the culture around them. And then they champion that and say, no, all these other people around me said this, so there's value to that. Alright, 3, 2, 1, go.
Taken to it so much that when it came to my birthday, I sold my brother's train set. I found out, I thought it was my train set, but he replied, he reminded me that it was his train set. So
he probably reminded you in no uncertain terms.
Well, yeah, he only came up about 15 years ago. He said, we were in the pool at my house, in Switzerland when I used to have a swimming pool, and he said, you know that train set you keep talking about? I said, yeah. He said, that was mine, It wasn't yours. But I was the one at that point that was playing with it, so I considered it mine. But I made the ultimate sacrifice and sold that, and my mum put so I bought my first drum kit, and that is the drum kit that's in this footage. So I must have been 12, not even 13, I don't think. So it's always been there, from the age of 5, seriously, to the age of 12, getting a proper drum kit, and then playing in my school bands, at drama school, which I joined.
Okay, stop.
All right, let's.
Yeah, so he knows he had the drum kit at 12. It's obviously very, very significant for him. So you say, he's not excitable, but he kind of is, but you don't see it. You're not seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an FI.
Right.
And we don't like to... FI people don't like to put it out there as much. It's more internal.
Let's go back to this train set. So basically, he took his brother's train set, or he played with it. So because of that, he felt then that it was his.
Yes.
And he had no qualms about selling it as if it was his to sell.
Yes. Even though it was not his.
No,
But then again, it's that matter of fact, like, well,
I played with it.
I commandeered this train set. I can sell it. I like how you said, made the ultimate sacrifice. I think it's time for the viewer to make the ultimate sacrifice. And press like and subscribe. Otherwise,
Didn't see that one coming.
I'm gonna have to sell their train sets.
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
14. You know, used to play all Motown stuff and Otis Redding stuff. I used to sing a bit from behind the drums. We had a singer as well, backing singers. You know, it was so it's always been kind of in my life.
Did you develop a kind of consciously develop a drumming style, or did you take the style from the particular genre? Like, you know, if it's Motown, you kind of listen to the Motown records and play like that.
I tried to play like that. Yeah, I mean, I was left-handed, and so straight away that kind of, you know, I remember I didn't set it up the way other drummers set it up. I set it up what was comfortable for me, which was exactly a mirror image of the right-handed drum kit. And I just picked it up. I mean, I guess because I listened to all kinds of music. I mean, by 1966, I was 15. I was listening to Buddy Rich and the big bands, you know, and John Coltrane and people, which is kind of advanced for a 15-year-old back then. I mean, now it's maybe not so much of a stretch, but I was definitely listening to all kinds of music. I was a Beatles fan rather than a Stones fan, although I did buy both albums, you know, both the group's albums. And I listened to all the stuff of the pop music of the day, you know, the Kinks and the Yardbirds and the Animals and the Who.
All right, let's stop.
And I tended to...
Yeah, it's just that matter-of-factness, I guess, that just jumps out at me. It's that TE with the FI. Not much expression, just the facts.
Yeah, very dry.
Dry, no romanticizing, no drama, no embellishment.
Yeah.
It's just very straightforward.
I mean, we were speaking recently about an ISTP, saying they were matter of fact. But like, man, the FE makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm. It's like the ornament on the tree.
Do you know what he reminds me of? You know, there's like omnibus programs you get, where they just like relay everything that ever happened in like the history of, you know, EastEnders or the Beatles or whatever.
Yes.
And then he said this, and then the manager came up to me. That's like such an SI. This is like an ISTJ's dream thing to watch, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it reminds me of.
To support our project, please comment, like, and subscribe. We want to encourage a dialogue in the comments, so substantiated disagreement is welcome. Check out the playlist for this type and our recommended video below. If there's someone you want us to type, please leave a comment for us. Or you can look into our fast track system to find out how you can get your favorite people typed sooner.